Morning, Econ students. Here to talk to you today. There isn't any new content today. We're mainly going to be talking about the AP test and some updates that I learned about this past week as far as the format goes and things like that and test dates. As one thing to be excited about is you are not required to know anything from Unit 6 except for the trade stuff we went over last week. So we're done with new content. Pretty much everything from this point on is going to be review. And because the AP test is now only 2 free response questions, we're not going to do a multiple choice test for Unit 5. What we're going to be doing is FRQs. The AP test is only 2 FRQs, so pretty much everything from this point on, assignment-wise, is going to be free response questions. Now, this is for everybody, even if you're not taking the AP test. These will be your assignments in the coming weeks. Like next week, when we come back on Tuesday, there will be 1 FRQ on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, 1 on Friday to try to wrap up Unit 5. And those will go in the grade book as free response question grades and so forth. So if you have any questions about format, so no multiple choice tests from this point on, either in my class or on the AP test. It's all going to be things like free response questions. And then after next week, we'll be starting reviewing, getting ready for the AP test by looking at the stuff from first semester, looking at the stuff from earlier in the semester, and first semester kids can watch as well. Basic stuff, supply and demand, all the formulas and things like that. So I just want to touch base, talk a little bit about things I saw in the webinar the other day that the College Board put on. First, remember, this is the date of the AP test, May 21st at 3 p.m. And that'll be when you log in to the College Board website and take the AP exam in macroeconomics. So a couple things, my notes here, to talk at least a little bit about with the AP exam. First, the College Board's if you signed up, the College Board is going to email you a test ticket 48 hours before the test, and that'll have your unique login information, the code that you need in order to take the test. The webinar said you don't need a lockdown browser for this, but it might help to download that anyway, and there's instructions on the College Board website. Couple positives, couple things to feel good about. With it being an online test, you aren't going to be drawing graphs. Okay, you're not required to draw graphs on it. We'll continue to draw graphs in this class because it's good practice, but you won't be drawing graphs on the AP exam. It could help, though, when you're answering the questions. So let's say it says, use the loanable funds market to determine what happens when the government borrows $100 billion. This is something from the FRQ that you'll see next week on Tuesday. And you have a hard time visualizing it, use scratch paper, draw it out. Okay, demand, government spending goes up, demand for loanable funds goes up, demand for loanable funds goes up. Oh, okay, interest rates go up. That's the impact. And one thing I want you to get used to, even if you're not drawing a graph, is doing at least a little explanation. The FRQs so far this year, I haven't really graded you hard if you didn't explain it, but if it says explain it, make sure you're writing just like 1 sentence explanation. So, the impact, let's say that problem again, government spending goes up, demand for loanable funds goes up, real interest rates rise. And then the next question is, what will happen to investment? What will happen to investment? Explain. We'd say investment would decrease because higher interest rates means it's more expensive to borrow, and businesses will borrow less to buy capital goods, something like that. So the explanation doesn't have to be very long, but I think that's one of the things they're going to look at a lot on the AP test as they're grading this year is, did you explain why investment decreased or why the interest rates increased and things like that. So that's the sort of thing we're looking at. So that relationship again, demand for loanable funds goes up, interest rates go up, investment goes down, crowding out effect, things like that. So yeah, you can type or handwrite your answer. Basically, it's 2 free response questions. The first one is going to be 25 minutes. Okay, so you'll get the first question, 25 minutes, and that's 60% of the test. And Then there's a 5-minute upload period. You can either upload it using Google Docs or Microsoft Word, or you can take a picture of it and upload it that way. And then the second question will start once you uploaded it, and that'll be 15 minutes. So time is of the essence. And that's really kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about is that the timing, it actually shuts down after 25 minutes. So you're not going to be able to say, well, this question one's really long and I need to take a little extra time on it. It's going to shut the question down, so you can only work for that time period. And the same thing goes on the second question. It'll shut it down, then you have to upload it. So time is of the essence. So you can look things up and you can have your notes out and things like that, but the longer you spend looking things up, the less time you have to answer those questions. So that's something to keep in mind. With it being open book and open note, one of the positives of doing it at home is you can use a calculator. So calculators are legal on the AP test this year. So they said the math isn't going to be any harder. It should still be math that you can compute in your heads or using scratch paper. But hey, nothing wrong with having a calculator handy as well. Okay, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, hey, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we were in quarantine week 3. If you're taking the test, continue as planned. Okay, you log in on May 21st, you take it. If you're opting out, basically all you have to do is not log in. Okay, if you're opting out of the test, you decided, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. There's really nothing you can do right now to cancel your exam, but what you would do on May 21st is simply not take the exam. So you wouldn't take the exam, and then eventually, it's not going to be instantaneous, but eventually the College Board will send you a refund, or our school will send you a refund for the exam that you didn't take. So that's what you need to do right now if you're choosing not to. Like I said, next week we'll be starting with free response. We'll be finishing up Unit 5 with a free response question every day, and then after that, we'll start reviewing for the AP exam. Let me know if you have any questions. Keep working on the aggregate supply economic growth assignment. If you haven't finished that already, have a good snowy weekend, and we'll see you next week.